Hey guys, Selwyn here from WynnStrength.com, bringing you day 3, week 3 of the Darkhorse training program by Brian Alsruhe. As usual, I'll leave links below for the YouTube video explaining what the Darkhorse training program is all about, as well as links to the liftvault.com website where you can find a spreadsheet to do this program along at home if you would like to do it as well, like me. It's free template, so go check it out. If anything, it is a nice informative video to watch and gives you some things to think about if you do develop your own program, but that's something I don't recommend. Nevertheless, the third day, the third week, didn't quite go as planned, didn't quite go as I had hoped for. We are starting to hit some stumbling blocks. It is one of the bigger, more intensive days because it is our lower body day, so we are focusing on squats and deadlifts and doing both of those quite heavily. We'll start off with some conditioning, which was 4 rounds of 1 minute row, 5 air jumps, and then 10 kettlebell swings. Just repeat that for 10 minutes. I got 4 rounds in that 10 minutes, nothing crazy. Again, get the blood flowing, get the joints kind of greased up and ready to go. Then from there we move on to our warm-up sets. I like to do the warm-up sets with the 2 main movements for the day. So today was front squats and sumo deadlifts. So again, start off with empty barbells, and then add a plate, add 25, then maybe another plate. Work your way up depending on what your skill level is, how you like to go. I like to get around maybe 4 to 5 sets. And because the sumo deadlift, I'm going to use a heavier weight than the front squat, I'm going to do a couple more warm-up sets of the sumo deadlift than I am the front squat. Because I am only targeting 165 for that front squat today, just because we do have that high rep range. I only had 6 warm-up sets, whereas the sumo deadlift, because we're targeting 405 to 415, actually had around 7 to 8 warm-up sets there. So just something to think about if you are warming up. I just like to do the standard movements that I'm doing for the day, just with obviously lighter weights, higher reps, and as the weights go up, the reps go down. Never really going below the amount of reps that we're doing for the day. So because today is programmed for heavy triples, I'm working from 10 with the lighter weights, and then I just ramp down until I hit 3s. And then I just leave it at the 3s until I hit the working set that the working weight that I want to get to for the working sets. So to move on from there, we do the max effort session for today. Today's max effort session is 5 sets. We had front squats for either 8 to 12 reps. I hit 8 reps. Sumo deadlifts was 3 rep maxes, followed by some side planks and some rowing for some conditioning. The front squat, I'm not too sure if it's progressing as well as I would like. Again, my conditioning is really coming into a factor here. I just feel super out of breath, super gassed. Not a great day for training today, but we did kind of get most of the work done. We got about 80% of the work done, but we did do 165. If we go back previous weeks, the front squat has been trained slightly heavier. So go back to week 2, week 3, we did 185 pounds for 6 reps, and now we've got 165 pounds for 8 reps. So 20-pound decrease in weight, but 2 reps increase in reps. So again, hard to compare apples to apples when you're comparing different rep ranges, just because of you can't compare a 3 rep max to an 8 rep max, and that just goes along the way. Even a 3 to a 4 rep max, 2 totally different. Very similar, obviously, but different ways to compare, and it's harder to compare when you're changing 2 factors rather than 1 factor. Ideally, I would have liked to see 185 for sets of 8 today, but that just didn't happen, or 165 for over 10 reps, but today just wasn't happening. The sumo deadlifts felt a lot heavier than they have in the past. I tried a little bit of a wider stance today and wasn't a fan of it, so I brought the stance in towards the end there. I think my body's more built for a narrower stance with a sumo deadlift. It just doesn't feel that comfortable. I'm experiencing a little bit of hip discomfort right now after doing the sumo deadlifts and the front squats and then the regular squats. So a lot of a hip dominant movement today. Hip dominant movement was like all of today's movements. So I think the 415 for 3 for sets across for the 4, I think that was really good. Again, the technique is getting there. I did have to switch over to using the shin guards or the shin sleeves, just because using a power bar with that aggressive knurling really does scrape my shins up. Just not a fan of that. I mean, yeah, you could tough it out, this and that, but at the end of the day, why am I going to scrape my shins up when I don't have to? So I threw the shin sleeves on just to avoid that pain on the knee. I don't want to deal with that. And that meant I forewent the knee sleeves, which probably better in this case since the front squatting wasn't that heavy, so I don't really need to keep that knee joint that warm, unlike if I'm doing heavy squats. More of a comfort thing, and again, a mental thing, because the weight is light, I don't need it, so it's that placebo effect kicking in there nevertheless. No knee sleeves today, and we did some shin sleeves. I think that helped a lot, because I noticed when I didn't have the shin protectors on there, I was drifting the bar out in front of my center of gravity, so it wasn't kind of not dragging, but it wasn't touching the shins up as I went, which meant it was making the lift a little bit more difficult than it had to be, and I wasn't really getting that right bar path movement down because I was scared of scraping my shins up. So once I put the shin protectors on, it kind of fixed that problem. I was able to keep the barbell a lot closer to my shins and a lot closer to the center of gravity, which is where it needs to be. So kind of happy, kind of disappointed with that 415 pounds for heavy triple. I was expecting maybe 445, possibly 455, but hey, we did 475 for heavy single last week, so I need to look at the calculator, look at the spreadsheet, see if that's comparable or not, but in any case, that's what it is today, and we got a little bit more tonnage there. Now we move on to the volume work. So the volume work, 3 sets, we dropped down the sumo deadlift to 330 pounds. Target reps were 8. For the first AMRAP set, I did 10. Again, I think that's a rep max for that random amount of rep. Well, not random, but I haven't done 10 sumo deadlifts in a row, so cool with that 330 pounds, just over a triple plate sumo deadlift. I'm curious to see if I train the sumo deadlift, if it would surpass my conventional deadlift. It does feel like an easier movement once I get used to the pattern and once I figure out that squat stance. If you watch the videos, my squat stance isn't typically as wide as you see other people using the sumo deadlift, just because it's a little bit more comfortable for my legs to be closer in, and that, again, comes down to personal preference and your body anthropometry and just what you feel like doing. Maybe it's helping me, maybe it isn't, but that slightly wider than conventional but a lot narrower than sumo, that kind of hybrid sumo conventional but definitely sumo deadlift, the narrower stance felt a lot better and it feels a lot stronger. 475 the last week came up really well, and I think with some more months of training the sumo deadlift, I might be able to surpass the conventional. But again, it'll be hard to compare because if I'm training the sumo, I can't really train the conventional as hard as I am the sumo. So kind of a funny experiment there. If I had a twin and we were both at the same level, we could do this different experiment. But hey, if I can surpass with the sumo, we'll see what happens. For the front squatting, because I was feeling pretty gassed, we did drop that weight down to 155, but I did get those 8 reps for the sets across. Today was just really gassed. I think I'm looking forward to the deload week next week, where nothing much is going to happen. The today's workout just was shockingly brutal. This program is very brutal. I wasn't able to hit the dynamic effort work quite as I'd like to do. So the weights for today were prescribed 275 with bands. Last week was 255. I tried 185 pounds for 3 and it just wasn't, I knew that was close to my limit. So I kind of did 225, cut it in the middle, lighter than last week and probably the same as the first week. But I was able to only do 5 rounds of this just because I was so fatigued and so tired. My phone was breaking down. I didn't feel as productive. My speed wasn't really there. I wasn't giving 100%, and I don't think at this point it was that productive to continue. Again, listen to your body, listen to how you're feeling for training that day, and you might have to cut some workouts short. You might have to let some of the workouts, leave that out there, just because if your body's feeling beat up, then don't push it as far as you can, because I could probably push at 275 for sets of 10, but I would just be absolutely wrecked for today, and I don't want to feel wrecked after any real workout. Maybe after a competition, that's what you want to feel like, but for a training day, we're building again. We're not testing, so I'll leave it at that. Your mileage may vary, your personal preferences are going to vary along with that as well. With that said, wrapping up today, not as successful as I would have liked, but given the intensity of the program, I'm not too surprised after the fact. Disappointed, but not surprised. So we'll move on, regroup after the rest week, and we'll see what the 5th week will have in store for the program. We still have one more day of week 3, so we'll see how that turns out. And now I'm going to move on to part 3 of the program breakdown, and we're looking at volume effort work today. So day 1, we looked at what the conjugate style training was. Day 2, we looked at maximum effort work. And today we're looking at the second piece of the puzzle, volume effort. Basically what the volume effort is, if we similarly break it down, it's kind of that hypertrophy work. If maximum effort is strength work, volume is hypertrophy, so that we can drive some muscular growth and get bigger, because everyone wants to get bigger, right? And bigger muscles are able to put out more force, so we're able to lift more weights. So the bigger we get, the stronger we get, ideally, and the stronger we get, the bigger we get. It's this virtuous cycle that one helps the other. That's why we don't necessarily want to do one or the other. We want to do both in a strategic and logical scientific fashion. That's how we get improvements in strength. So that being said, the way that Alsruhe likes to program his volume work is to do AMRAP sets for the first set. Obviously, we're going to drop down the weight a lot. We're not going to be playing in the 90% and up range. We're going to be playing in around the 70 to 85% range. So where strength, we're doing 85 and above. For volume, we're going to be doing 70 and up to 85, in that typical range there. With that being said, there are some studies that suggest you really only have to go past 60% of your 1 rep max in order to drive hypertrophy. And that's what we're looking at doing, like sets of 12, sets of 15 and above, maybe even sets of 20. Because when it comes to hypertrophy, we're really looking at time under tension and tonnage. The more tonnage we can do above 60% of our 1 rep max, the better our hypertrophy outcomes are going to be. That's just kind of what the science says at this point in time. And if we were doing bodybuilding style training, that's the typical bodybuilding style training you see kind of plastered everywhere. 8 to 12 reps, 3 to 4 sets, and we just do that just till we die. That's what we do. But because we are doing more of a strength-based, this program is more like strongman, powerlifting focused, strength focused. We're going to have to taper that down. So we're not looking for 15 to 20 reps. We're kind of dialing down to 70 to 85%, as I said before. And because Brian Alsruhe was a strongman competitor, he stated that the reason we want to do an AMRAP set for the first opening volume set is because a lot of the strongman competitions require you to do an AMRAP set of some degree. One of the events is going to be some sort of AMRAP event. So to train that skill, we're going to drop the weight down and do as many reps as we can with a given amount of time for our opening set, and then that's where we back off and do some extra sets with a prescribed amount of reps. So whether that, for the program, we've gone from 8 to 12, that's kind of our money range there for the hypertrophy, and we're doing maybe generally 3 sets. Because we have done already, for that maximum effort work, we've done probably anywhere from 4 to 6 sets of heavy work. We're gonna have to dial that back a little bit. Again, with the complexity of the program, a lot of things are coming into play. We don't want to drive ourselves into the ground too much. That's why we need to offset the amount of work we're doing there. Because we are increasing the tonnage, we don't need to do as many sets as we did with the strength workout, because those reps are there and that tonnage is going to be huge, given we pick the right weight. And where the maximum effort kind of teaches us how to grind through a heavy single, the volume work teaches us how to grind through a longer amount of pain. So where we're doing 7 seconds for the maximum effort work, for the volume work, we're talking like 30 seconds, 20 seconds to 30 seconds of just continuous brutal work. And that's kind of where this mental toughness is going to also get put into play, is building up that ability to endure suffering, endure that weight on our back, and having to do it again and again and again until we can't. That's as many reps as possible. That's what we're ideally going for there. And really the only way to get over that is to just focus on that next rep. Don't look at it as a set of 8. Look at it as just that next rep. Just focus on getting 1 extra rep, then 1 extra rep, then 1 extra rep. And then you're going to get to your 8, and then you're going to be done. That's how I kind of look at it. It's just focus on that next one, and once you've completed that rep, focus on that next one, because you know your mind's gonna give up far before your body will. If your life depended on it, you will probably be able to physically push out a lot more than you think you can if you're just kind of trying to self-motivate yourself. So if we have some numbers set in stone, and we're really targeting that specific number there, we know we can make it. We really just need to develop that mind muscle there so that we can force through and grind through and keep up with the work, because that's all it comes down to. There's no magic bullets in life. We just got to keep pummeling away with regular old hard work, and that's how we're going to get really far, and it's how we're going to build a lot of strength. One of the beauties of putting the volume work right after the maximum effort work is it makes it harder to overtrain, because you're already in a fatigued state and we're doing the exact same movements. The way the Darkhorse program is set up, I think it's great that way, because it's self-limiting and auto-regulating. When you do your 3 rep max, 5 rep max, we're picking different percentages of that and basing the amount of reps on whether it was a single, triple, or a 5. That way we are auto-regulating and self-limiting insofar as we're only ever doing so much weight. We're not trying to bust out new weights with new reps. We're doing decreased amount of weight for a certain amount of reps, obviously apart from that first AMRAP set, but again, that's still at a decreased weight selection, which does help mitigate the stress we're putting on the body and just temper that amount of effort we're able to put in for the day. Because when you do volume work, just like we are used to, like bodybuilding programs of the past, I'm used to doing, like, you can do anywhere from like 10 to 20 sets of chest movements for the day, and that's huge. That's a lot of volume. But because you're fatigued, you can just keep going and going and going. But when we do some maximum work, maximum effort strength work, it really depletes those energy stores and really depletes your ability to keep outputting that amount of energy. Really, you're just depleting your body. So it's a great way to temper the program and temper that stress on the body and really strike that good balance of where you're trying to achieve right there. So that wraps it up. Again, I'll leave a link for the playlist right here. That way you can catch up with conjugate style explanation as well as maximum effort explanation, and then subscribe, and you'll be able to see the rest of the training program and follow along with my progress on the Darkhorse training program. This has been Selwyn from WynnStrength, and remember, a better life through strength.